Okay, in this lesson, our main goal is to identify your natural affinity with your niche. Now, this is where the big picture of our research starts, and we have to be a bit careful on how we go about this. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, first thing on our agenda is to put out the lists you made on the previous lesson. You have to look at the answers you wrote for the third question on the last lesson. And that question is, which online business do you see yourself into for the next 3 years? We're going to call that list A. Now try to compare it with your answers in the first question, which is, what are the things you'd like to talk about? And we're going to call that list B. Now remember I told you to write as many as you can think about? Now this is the reason why. You're going to put a score on everything on your B list that is in your list A. Say for example you have basketball on your list B, but it's not on your list A. We're only going to give it a rating or tally of 1. However, if basketball is in both of your lists, then give it a score of 2. Now it may not necessarily be the word basketball. For example, you have basketball in your B list and you have sports on your A list. That will still count as 2 points, because technically basketball falls under the sports category. Clear? Okay, now let me give you an example before you try to rate your list. Now here's an example, a list that I did for this exercise. Now notice that I scored internet marketing and work at home a 2. So there's a tally of 2. Now that's because I have internet marketing on both lists, list A and B. And I also have work at home on list B under home business, which is on list A. So that's going to be both lists. I also have talking about girls scored as a 2, since technically it would fall under dating. So do the same and rate your list. You can pause this video if you like. Done? Once you're done putting in a score on your B list, it's time to put out your C list. Now your list C is the one that has the question, what are the things that you like doing? So basically what you want to do here is follow the same procedure as the one earlier and compare the things listed this time on your C list with your A list. Okay, so let me show you an example. Now, on this list, I have internet marketing and video games, again, scored as a 2, since video games falls under the gaming category. As for the others, I gave them a score of 1, since they don't have any partner on your B list. Now, again, pause this video if you have to. I know it may seem simple, but you might be surprised with the results. So take this exercise seriously and please, do not try to predict. Just score them as you wrote them. This is not the time to be adding a few more interests. Done? Good. Now, the next step is to combine your list B with your list C. Is there anything on your list B that can be considered as one with your list C? Now, this time we're going to combine both. So the new list that you're going to put them into, we're going to call it the BC list, or list BC. Subsequently, we are also going to tally the points that they have accumulated so far. So for internet marketing, which now has a score of 2 for list B and a score of 2 again for list C, we'll now have a total score of 4, since we're going to combine the accumulated points. Now, once you have the list and the scores combined, try to arrange your new list, your list BC, from highest to lowest so that the next step will not be as confusing. Once you're done, go back to pull out your A list, or your list A. Now, we will do the same procedure as the earlier ones, but this time, we're going to compare your A list, or list A, to your BC list. Now, for every interest that you have on the A list that doesn't have a match on your list BC, give them a score of 1. Same principle. Now, if they have a match, give it a score of 2. Okay? So consequently, we will now compile everything with their scores on one big list, which we will call the ABC list. So your ABC list should look something like this. Okay, always arrange your list from the highest to lowest. Now, you may be asking, what's the importance of this exercise? Simple. By identifying your interest, we can now deduct the best niche or niche that is perfectly right for you. We've come up with a niche market that are not forced and something that you didn't choose just because you think is profitable. Now, this process actually removes the filter or the bias that you have when choosing a niche marketplace to do business with. Does that make sense? Now, say for example, I know for a fact that the weight loss niche is an evergreen, profitable niche to be in. But if I have no interest whatsoever in weight loss, then every day of my marketing life will be hell. I'm in the internet marketing niche because that's what I like to be, and that's where I have the most knowledge. I like talking about it, and doing it is not a bother even if I have to put in the extra effort. Remember that you're in this for the long term. Now, I don't want you to wake up every single day of your life doing something that you don't like doing. Yeah, sure, it might be profitable and you might earn a few along the process, but do you think you'll thrive and pursue in something you don't believe in? Do you think you'll be able to come up with good sales pages or headlines if you have no first-hand experience on what you're trying to market? Now, do you think you'll be able to convince people to buy from you when you yourself don't believe in the product that you're promoting? Now, it sounds like an awful place to be in, but believe me, many people have fallen into the trap. Now, I really hope that I'm making enough sense for you to see the power and the simplicity of this exercise. Now, I asked you to have it scored, right? Now, those interests that you have a score of 6 are the ones that you will have greater success with, granted that it meets the criteria on our second module. Why? Because first, you like doing it, which is the most important. You see yourself doing business with it. And lastly, you like to talk about it, which is also important since you'll be doing a lot of writing and a ton of research. And for something that I don't like, it will be very tiring for me to do even a bit of research. It's true. I've tried working on the survival niche before, but guess what? I didn't like it. And most of the time, I dread the part of doing research. Did I earn from it, or was it profitable? Yeah. But was it worth it? I mean, I want to make money online because of the lifestyle it offers, the freedom and the luxury it gives. So if doing it will be such a chore, then what's the point of doing it in the first place? Now, for those interests that you scored as a 5 or a 4 are your next best bets. Naturally, those are the things that you like to do business with, and more or less pick your interests for you to read about it or do it. Now, those numbered with 3s, 2s, and 1s are your fail-safe, just in case those interests before them turn out to be not so profitable. We would go about researching niche or niche profitability on the next module, so don't worry. Now, if you're anything like me, and you just skip through the whole lesson without doing anything, print out the worksheet and list down at least 15 or more interests per question before you go ahead and proceed to this lesson right here. Okay? Make sure you're done with the first lesson and the second lesson before you go to the third lesson. That's the reason why I had it on a step-by-step process, so that everything would fall into place once you go to the last step. That's it for lesson 2.